Hello, how are you? This is Devin from Homeschool House Calls. I am so glad to meet you. I'm so glad to meet you in this conference. I love online conferences. I can watch sessions from the comfort of my own room and my own space with my hot coffee or my hot tea, depending on the time of the day, or maybe even my lemonade or iced tea if it's summer. I think they're just absolutely fabulous. But I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I am Devin from Homeschool House Calls. I am a mom of five. We have homeschooled almost 18 years. I have two graduates and a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a soon to be 6-year-old. We've homeschooled about 18 years almost. I started way back in the day when my son was he was basically a toddler. I graduated university and had a 2-year-old and a newborn. And when I looked at daycare, I was like, I cannot do that. And by the time kindergarten rolled around, I was hooked and didn't want to do anything else. And so here I am, 5 kids later, not 5 years, it's longer than that. It feels like 5 years. And I have enjoyed and loved every minute of it. So, anyway, today we're going to talk about becoming a professional home educator and why it's important. Hopefully, I won't bore you too much. I think it's a passionate subject for me. It's something I love and adore to talk about. It's something I talk about often. I'll even take snippets and talk in my Facebook groups about that. How important this is. And we're going to talk about several concepts and several things. So I'm going to pull up my slides and then we're going to start by defining what it is and move on through there. So let's screen share. There we go. Okay. So becoming a professional home educator. That's me. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me just about everywhere. Or my website. You can find me. Let's see. Okay, so let's define this. I always like to go back to Webster. That is my favorite dictionary. Most of us love the Webster. But it defines professional several ways, and we're going to pull out one definition. This is I guess they call it entry two of two. I've used that term sometimes. One that is professional, especially one that engages in the pursuit or activity professionally. This is someone that is actively pursuing something as a professional. They are giving it their all. Kind of like Charlotte Mason and her living history books, and science books, you like living textbooks where you're reading something that someone is passionate about that subject. That is what a professional home educator is. It is a homeschooler. Let's see, I got a definition of it. You are passionate about pouring yourself into your children, into your students. It is a natural outpouring of everything that's in you. I believe it's a God-given role. God gave our children to us. He gave them to us to train. Even if you were not a home educator, you would still be actively training your children. Good parents do. Great parents do. They train their children from birth all the way up into adult. Even now, my parents still will take the time to teach me things and teach me the ways of God. They are still a wonderful example to me. So this is an honorable profession. It is an extension of parenthood. I believe that good, godly parents train their children no matter what their education is. But we're applying it to home education because that's where we are and where we are. We're not ashamed of this. We are not ashamed of our motherhood, and it is a ministry. Mothers are so important in pouring into the lives of their children. And I think if mothers could ever grab onto the fact that it is a high calling, it would change how you behave and how you think, how you feel about yourself, because you are so valuable. But let's keep going because that's my passion. Mamas have my heart. So why? Why do we want to pursue being a professional? Because it matters. It matters to our community as a whole, to the homeschool community. It matters to us personally. It affects how our children behave. We have to pursue professionalism in what we do. We are being a professional in, let's go on. Anyway, so what does the Bible say about being a professional? I love these verses. These are some that I have out for me to read, especially in my hard times when I'm maybe wanting to not pursue that level. Maybe I'm tired and I don't want to push myself further. So Ecclesiastes 9:10, whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. Proverbs 12:24, diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor, which is a horrifying thought. Proverbs 21:5, the plans of the diligent lead to profit. I love that one. 2 Timothy 2:15 with my typo. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of truth. I love that because as a mother, I want to do my best for God and not be ashamed. Galatians 9:5, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And I love that if we don't give up, we're going to reap a harvest. That doesn't mean we do everything perfect. Being a professional does not mean that we're doing everything perfect. That's really hard. God is only perfect. But it means we are pursuing that and we're not giving up and we're not letting ourselves become weary and tired. And so I'm going to keep going. That's how I feel. Some other sources. Here's some great quotes that I found. Professionalism is not the job you do, but how you do the job. That's anonymous. I would like to take credit for it, but I can't. That would be telling a story. A professional is someone who can do his best work when he doesn't feel like it. Alistair Cook. That is a mother for you. He knew his mother because there's many times I don't feel like doing what I need to do. Believe passionately in all you do and never knowingly compromise your standards or values. Act like a true professional, aiming for true excellence. And that's the thing. True excellence doesn't mean you're doing everything perfect. It means that you are pursuing that and you're pursuing that professionalism and doing things right. So remember, you are essential to the success of your homeschool. You're important. You're called. You are essential. You are the core. Everything revolves almost around that mama. She can turn the attitude of her household. So you have to remember how essential you are. Your home cannot be a success without you. That's just how it is. You are essential. So let's move on and let's talk about some other stuff. So how do we apply this to our everyday life? How do you apply it to being a professional? Well, you have to take it one step at a time. You have to realize that when you're pursuing that, you're not going to do everything you think you need to do correctly or anything you need to work on in one day. The beauty of homeschooling is mamas get to learn too. So it's one step at a time, one day at a time, one new element of learning at a time, and you give yourself grace to learn. One of the things you have to realize is, you might not have done that high level of algebra. Your high schoolers, my last high schooler ended with pre-cal. I had never done pre-cal, but that does not mean that I cannot learn with her. And it is okay to look at your high schooler and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Let's learn it together. What's not okay is to give up. So we push through and we go through and we give ourselves grace. So let's see what else. So here's some daily application ideas that you can apply. Now, one thing for me is I have a goal of dressing professionally. Why did I do this? It's because for a while there, I got into a slump where I was wearing yoga pants and a ratty t-shirt everywhere I went instead of making myself look good. So my goal for myself is to dress professionally. I have pointy shoes. I very rarely wear tennis shoes when I go out in public, unless it's very, very appropriate. But it is not my go-to. Why? Because you only get one chance to meet that person for the first time. And if I meet someone new and I look slumpy and I have no makeup on and my hair's in a ratty bow, then they're going, whew, okay, that's what a homeschooler looks like. So I try really, really hard, especially since I am a consultant now, to not look like a scary mom. So that's me. You can do whatever you want with that. You might even get mad at me, but that's me because that is one of my downfalls. Another thing you need to do is to build your tribe. You want to pull like-minded people around you. This is another thing you can apply to your daily life. Why? Because when you pull like-minded friends around you, they spur you on to excellence. When you are talking to other moms, you're able to talk about those problems and you're able to move forward from where you are. And another thing is to find a mentor, someone who's a little bit further than you that they can pull you along with them and help you over those bumps. So those are some daily application ideas for you. Some things that I have done in the past and that I still do. Weekly, monthly, and yearly application ideas. This is some other stuff I do. I pour myself into myself as a professional. I put career development on my school, into my school budget. I consider online conferences as professional development. I consider the new homeschool book, like maybe, I don't know, you can, Cindy LaJoy just came out with a book on special needs homeschooling. I consider that it's very, very how-to kind of stuff. I consider that as to put in my school budget. There are free options. Your library may have books. You're always reading something that pushes you in past your learning. It might be, let's say you have a middle schooler and you're getting ready for them to become a high schooler and you're not strong in math. It might be you take a math class so that you can be a step ahead, or taking the science class before the kid, but you are before your kid. Yeah, I have kids. So you're pushing yourself forward. You're listening to the homeschool podcast. You're reading the homeschool books. You're going to the homeschool conferences and retreats. I love them in person, but they're also online. You put yourself into your school budget. You put yourself into your time. You're scheduling yourself into your school day so that you can take time to learn. One thing I have is Skillshare. So it has stuff like, I'm not techie, but I do a lot of workshops now and I want to get better and better at my technique. So I take classes to learn about editing. You take the time to build that in there. You're putting in your time and your budget. This is something I preach in my groups all the time. Don't skimp on tools. Tools of the trade are important. If you're a chef, you're going to buy good quality tools. If you're a hairdresser, you're going to buy good quality tools. My cousin is a cardiologist. She has the good stethoscope that are worth thousands of dollars. She doesn't skimp because those tools are important. You are important. Put yourself into your budget. Schedule yourself into your calendar. It is important. And last but not least, hire a consultant when you need it. If you're sick, you're going to go to the doctor and pay that doctor. If you have something going on in your homeschooling and you don't know how to fix that problem, hire a professional. It is worth it and you're worth it. You're going to have a lot less stress for doing that. Now, I'm a consultant. I'm great with helping with the beginning. If I can't do it, I'm going to send you out. I collect consultants so that I can help mamas move where they need to go. So anyway, so that is the basis of this. I'm absolutely great about running at not light speed. But what do you think? What do you think? How do you apply? Now we can have some discussion. I know you're not here, but I can ask some questions and you can answer in the comments or in the groups. I'm sure there's some way you can contact me and we can talk about this. How do you define being a professional? How do you see it fitting in your life? What do you need to work on? Is there some way that you need to get better? Something you need to push yourself forward? Do you have ideas on how to work it into your time and your budget? Pursuing professionalism, what do you want to work on this year? You know, just like we set goals for our kids, we can set goals for ourselves. It could be something so simple as, I want to find a better way to manage my menu so that I am not as stressed. It could be whatever you need to work. How can you work on it? Maybe you need to work on how to schedule your day better so that your flow is better. You can be a professional and you can work on it. Research, buy the tools you need. Do what, put yourself in your schedule so you have time to work. Just think about a professional. When I worked I worked in a small school before I married and had kids. Every day I had 2 15-minute breaks. 2 15-minute breaks. Do you have breaks? Everybody needs a break. I spend about 15 minutes every morning and every afternoon on my front porch. My kids may or may not come out there, but they know that mama's on break and she's drinking an iced coffee. Well, right now, this time of year, I'm drinking iced coffee. And I'm taking just a few minutes to have quiet. They know if they walk out there, they've got to be quiet too because mama's on break. I don't have a lunch alone, obviously, but I have pursued ways that they have their break because they need breaks too. And see, and that's a good thing about doing this. Your children need to learn how to work breaks into their day, and they need to learn that school and learning is a continuous thing. It's not something that stops. And we're patterning that come out right, that for them. And it's important because they need to learn these things too. You have to change the mindset that putting yourself into your budget is a bad thing. You are pursuing being a professional. You are important. Your children are important. And because they're important, you have to make sure you're pursuing that professionalism because you are the teacher and the mother. And that's a lot. And you're worth it. They're worth it. So make sure you're working yourself into your time, putting yourself in your schedule. Make sure you're putting yourself into your budget because it really does help. And anyway, it was great spending time with you today. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you. I appreciate your commitment to your children. I appreciate your commitment to yourself. If there's anything I can do, let me know. You can find me. You can email me at devin@homeschoolhousecalls.com. You can find me in the Facebooks. You can find me on the interwebs. Let me know how I can help and support you because you really are that important. Have a great day, guys.